Greetings everyone, Jeremy Sutton from PrecisionPrinciple.com on day 28 of the intensive Ashtanga Yoga training. As we begin to wrap up this course, lately I've been reflecting on some of the gains, some of the struggles and the challenges that we have gone through here at this time. And in particular, I wanted to focus on today the importance of the mind, our focus, and our general attitude towards work, towards challenge, and how this affects what we actually do in our life. And in particular, so I can think of in my practice, here I am a pretty stiff guy. I mean, I'm getting better all the time, but as far as just general flexibility, I would definitely not consider myself naturally flexible, okay? So many of the postures, there's going to be an easier version of that posture. So when I first arrived here, I of course had to take all of the easy routes for the postures, or I just couldn't have finished the practice. It's just that simple. So as I got some weeks into it, we had some different instructors coming in and out. And at some point, a new instructor came in, and I got into one of the positions, and he goes, no, go for this one. And I thought to myself, oh, but I can't do that position. I know, because I've tried it before. I couldn't do it. But sure enough, we got in that position. I throw the arm around, and boom, all of a sudden, I'm got into a new position with a kind of an awkward bind with my shoulder all wrapped around my knee. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. I thought I couldn't do this. And so I wasn't even trying to do it. But here I was, the first time I tried again, it got it first time. So the point is, I probably could have done this posture prior to that exact moment. On any of the several days previous, I probably could have done the more advanced version of that posture. But I didn't even try because I previously learned that it wasn't possible for me. And I hadn't considered that with all these kind of gains and flexibility that I've been making, that maybe it would be possible in the future. Now, in particular, this is a perfect example of what's often called as learned helplessness. And that is coined from the term where they, in kind of terrible experiments with animals, they took these dogs, for example, and they put them in a cage, and for one group of dogs, they would electrify the floor, giving them kind of uncomfortable shocks, but they could jump over to the other side of the cage, and then they'd be okay. With another group of dogs, they gave them these shocks, but they didn't give them anywhere they could go. And after a while, first the dogs move around, but after a while, the dogs would just sort of put up with the situation and think, oh, this is all I can do, and just sort of lay down. And then later on, when those dogs that never had a chance to escape, they put those dogs in another cage where they did have a chance to jump to another side where they could avoid the shock. And because they learned previously that there was no way they could escape it, they wouldn't even try to escape the shocks. And in fact, those dogs would have to be sort of dragged to the other side to be shown that there was a way that they wouldn't get shocked, and over time, they could finally overcome this learned helplessness. So here in yoga is the exact same idea. I learned earlier that I can't do this pose, so later on I didn't even try, even though later it became available to me. And then finally, when the instructor kind of encouraged me to get to the other side of the cage, I tried it out, I got it, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I actually can do this, right? So a couple points here is that the way that we think about the world affects ultimately what we do, affects our results, affects how well we end up in the world. And this is one of the reasons why optimism is such a powerful thing in this world. In particular, I mean, there's no correct way to view things. There's no ultimate right or wrong. Like, is it better to be pessimistic or optimistic? Well, it's not like you're going to be, if you're nihilistic, if you're idealistic, pessimistic, optimistic, whatever your istic is, this doesn't really matter. No one's going to, in the sense that no one's going to have ultimate judgment that you chose the wrong, orientation towards life. However, in the sense of like which one's better in a practical sense, in the sense of which one of these is going to lead to more positive outcomes for you and me in our lives regularly, clearly the answer is optimism. I mean, in some sense, optimism can be even irrational at times. You can look at a situation and think, oh yeah, there's got to be some way that I'm kind of going through this, or maybe just the thought that yes, I know that I can do this, even though I know the odds look difficult, it looks unlikely, I know I can do this. If you don't think you can do it, you might not even try. Just like I wasn't even trying to do these extra poses. But we take on this optimistic mindset, and we end up actually doing things that we previously didn't know were possible. In particular, a really good example is the psychologist and Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman. He's the author of Thinking Fast and Slow. He's a psychologist who won a Nobel Prize for economics because of his work in discovering, along with another guy, Amos Tversky, I think was his partner in this work. And what they found is that people don't behave like economists say people behave. Economists tend to believe people are extremely rational, and they make all of their decisions based on, at least traditional economic theories are based on this idea that people are 100% rational beings, and as soon as they kind of break down the odds, they do exactly what's right based on that. But that is not how people actually behave, and that's what Kahneman and Tversky found out. And so Kahneman is one of the most rational thinkers. He's one of the most what can I do to play out the odds exactly what's correct? He kind of completely removes emotion from the decision-making process. And that being said, even though he's as rational as possible, he says in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, that if you could have one wish one quality to imbue to your children, the quality that he would wish on them is optimism. That's because this irrationally positive, this irrationally optimistic outlook, I know that something's going to happen positive out of this. I know that I can make this happen. It leads to a series of, various series of decision-making processes and attempts in this world to try to do things that you might otherwise just pass on. You know, of course, it's an old cliche. You know, you miss 100% of those that you don't try. I think that was Wayne Gretzky. Yeah, so you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? So this is sort of the optimistic mindset of just getting things done in life, maybe doing this thing in yoga. I mean, is there something in your life where you thought, no, I mean, I don't know, I couldn't really do that. Maybe you're thinking about launching a new business venture. Maybe it's time to move careers, or maybe it's time to try to get a real hold on health and fitness, or on a new meditation habit, or maybe a new creativity habit, or maybe any number of things that you might be thinking, oh man, yeah, it's kind of fun, sounds like interesting, but I don't know, could I really do that? I'm not really sure. I say, reframe it, just take a new optimistic outlook and just try it anyway, because odds are you will be successful, in the sense that if other people are doing it, then it's very likely that you are also going to be able to do it. I'm not going to say it's going to come easy. It might take hard work. It might take some dedication. But even that right there, if you have a challenge right now and you think, man, I'm not sure if I can do this, and then you try it, and then you actually do it, it's hard at first. Maybe you don't do it right at first, but you try again, and then bam, you get it. Then what's that going to do? First off, you're going to feel good about persevering and having accomplished something that you thought was difficult, or maybe even thought you thought it was even impossible. And then you'll know in the future that when you have these feelings that, hey, sometimes I feel like I can't do it, but you did it anyway, then you're going to know that you probably can do other things in the future, right? It's going to start to build momentum. It's going to ultimately pours into basically a positive feedback loop. A positive feedback loop is something that, something happens and it encourages something else that encourages the original thing to happen again. So your original action ultimately leads back into strengthening the same thing on the next cycle. And that's how success works. That's how failure often works. People get into these. Life is essentially a positive feedback loop. The fact that evolution happens, that we evolve these bodies, is a positive feedback loop. Something happens, something got off in the negative feedback loop, they didn't really make it. But everything that's still around now is basically a positive feedback loop. Its success led to other items that essentially fed back into its own success. And that has part of how the evolution of our species is here. So optimism and pessimism kind of work in the same manner. For example, you try something, you do well. Oh man, that was cool. I want to do more of that. So you practice. You practice so you get better. So you try again, and then you win again, and then you want to practice more, and then you win again, practice more. Kind of feeds back into itself. Life is like that. And so, for example, if we want to have success in the different areas of our life, we need to look at all the different kind of variables that feed into the emotion that we're in. Because we all have some sort of momentum going somewhere. The question is, does your momentum take you to, get back, hit the gym again, eat that salad, and make sure you got lots of vegetables in your diet, and read a nice book before bed? Or is that cycle bringing you to maybe not have so much success in the different areas of your life. I'm grabbing those chips and a burger instead, and then going home and feeling tired, and going home watching TV and thinking about going to exercise. But you know what? Actually, I think I'd rather just go grab a drink with my friends. And then all of a sudden, all these things sort of pour into each other. And look, I love hamburgers. I like grabbing drinks with my friends too. It's not like no judgment on these behaviors, of course. The point is that are these cycles leading into the type of lifestyle that you really want for yourself? If not, then what's the risk of trying something new? If something's going well for you, why not figure out how to kind of make these positive feedback loops that feed into ongoing success? And in particular, if we can use our mindset to use a optimistic outlook. For example, but someone might say, but it'd be nice to be optimistic, but I just don't even see things that way. It's not how when I look out on the world, I don't see things going my way. That's just like the automatic processes of my brain don't automatically see the positive outcome. So that means, if that's your case, that means you probably have some feedback going right now to orient towards pessimism. So what can you do to stop that feedback and sort of move it in a direction that you'd prefer, or just a direction that's going to be more beneficial over the long term for your success and well-being? So the answer to that, at least one potential answer, is the practice of reframing things. What is a reframe? Frame is like what you put around a picture. So essentially, we're all looking out to the same world. The world is such, right? But we're all looking at different parts of that world, but the world is just there. That's the actual picture. So the question is, what's the frame that you put around it? What are you looking through when you see it? The frame, for example, someone might say, every time vegetables, oh, I hate vegetables, none of them taste good. Okay, so the frame around the vegetables is none of them taste good. So instead of none of them taste good, how can you reframe it so that you get a new view? It's like, every time I eat vegetables, I always feel great. Now, is this true or is it not true? Maybe it's not so true at first. It doesn't really matter. No, look for it. Say, hey, you can kind of orient your frames with new questions. For example, saying, what is it about vegetables that I like the most? And I say, oh, you know what? I love how when I eat vegetables, I feel like my body's taking up vitamins and nutrients that are going to help me feel strong and energized and just good. Okay, maybe you haven't thought about that before. Maybe you hadn't even asked the question, what do I like most about vegetables? But we use these questions, the questions sort of orient the spotlight of the mind, orient our focus. And whichever way you focus, basically you're going to find those type of things. If you say to yourself, man, why am I so stupid? Then guess what happens? Your brain goes, oh, why am I so stupid? Oh, let me think. Oh, because I don't study, because I don't work, because I don't do this. Da, 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 da. Okay, but if you say to yourself, what can I do to be more successful? Then the brain goes, oh, well, what could I do? Exercise seems to be helpful. Learning about things that interest me, being creative, finding out, coming in groups with friends of people who are also doing positive things, looking for mentors, looking for peers, looking for competitions, looking for competitions that I'm interested in, or any number of activities. Look, as soon as you orient your mind with one of these questions, then all of a sudden, all the answers start to just appear. It's just a brainstorm. You just orient your brainstorm with the question. And so this is a little bit of metacognition. We've talked about this before. Metacognition is sort of stepping outside of the kind of implicit instinctual mind and feeling like, wait a minute, it starts with self-reflection, like, how do I feel right now? And then thinking to myself, do I feel the way that I want to feel? And if the answer is yes, then you say, great, I win. But if the answer is no, then you think, next question, what can I do to feel the way that I want to feel? Then you can brainstorm any number of answers and then choose the best answer from there and then do it. And then you feel the way you want to feel, and then you're back to winning. Either way, either side of this strategy can lead to a winning solution. And so, obviously, in this optimistic outlook, if you want to really take your life by the horns, to live a self-authoring life, to live a life where thriving is actually possible, and not only possible, but is a felt reality of your regular experience, then you need to have, at least these are essential tools, creative problem solving. Think of yourself as a problem solver. If you don't think right now, are you a problem solver? The answer is yes. The answer is yes to that question. Even if until before now you were not a problem solver, boom, right now, starting from now, start to think, I am a problem solver. Start to take that identity in, because as soon as you feel like I am a problem solver, then when you go in your life, oh man, I have a problem. Well, that's okay, because I'm a problem solver, so I'm going to figure out a way to get around it. And by the way, goals are essentially problems that haven't been solved yet. If you think to myself, for me, for example, I say, I have a goal to write a book. Well, that's actually a good goal for me, but guess what? That's not, it's also a kind of a problem, as in, the problem is, I haven't wrote the book yet. So the question is, what can I do to write the book? All right, so then I already have an action plan about what I can do to write that book. How many words do I need to write every day? What topics do I need to do? How do I brainstorm that book? What are the research and references that I need to make sure happen? What is the process of self-publishing a book or publishing through publishers? Okay, and now we got all the different challenges that are associated with writing and publishing a book. So then, boom, these things, write a book, finish chapter 1, that is an accomplishable goal. That is a problem that can be solved. So now I've taken this goal, write a book, broke it down into the questions that kind of orient the process, which is, what do I need to do to make this actually happen? What are the actual steps to make the book real? And then these are things that I can actually problem solve, that I can actively accomplish. By going through these, pretty soon, by creative problem solving, I have accomplished this goal of writing a book. And you can apply this process to any question, to any goal, to any outcome in your life. And in my opinion, one of the reasons that people don't do this more often comes back to the very beginning. Learned helplessness, lack of optimism, just the lack of the thought that, hey, I can do this if I think about it. And that learned helplessness, it's not always helplessness, but in the sense of, what have I learned to do in the past? I've learned that I've learned that previously I haven't written a book. So maybe I would think that in the future I can't read a book, I can't write a book. But the point is that the past, everything that's happened in the past up till now, does not condition what's possible from here forward. Starting from right now, anything could be vastly different than what's happened prior to now. So that's why that optimism kind of comes all the way back to optimism. If you think you can do it, then you're going to start to look for solutions to the problem. If you don't think you do it, you won't even look. And there might be easy solutions right in front of your face, just low-hanging fruit all around, but you just hadn't thought to look there yet. So, it's right here, but you just didn't turn around and look. As soon as you look, boom, you find the answer to the question, you find an answer to this problem, and then you're on your way, you're getting the momentum going, and all of a sudden you are in that positive feedback loop and results are happening, and you can be more confident in the future because you're earning and achieving the success that you're looking for in life, and that is at least partially the mechanism of a life of thriving, the art of thriving, we might say. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're enjoying these videos, go ahead and click subscribe down below. Go ahead and check out precisionprinciple.com. If you have not joined the game, the question is why? It's a game that could potentially, dare I say it, change your life, transform your life. So, if you don't believe me, take the test yourself. Prove me wrong. I would love to hear why or why not that it didn't work. So go check that out, the game at precisionprinciple.com. But in the meantime, thank you for joining me. So keep learning, keep growing. Have a great day.